So next I invite Professor Essama Ansari. Look at what is normally called as CHAMA, Commission on History of Astronomy and Medieval Astronomy, Ancient and Medieval Astronomy. His field of interest has been primarily the Persian translation of Indian works. So currently, Professor Ansari is going to deliver his talk on Persian translations of Bhaskara's Sanskrit texts during the 16th and 17th centuries and their impact in the following centuries. Professor Ansari.
Mr. Chairman,
इसको इधर दबाना है, इसको इधर, बस ठीक, that's all right. The translation from Sanskrit into Persian started long back, and in fact during the Sultanate period when Firoz Shah Tughlaq's time, his court astronomer, a Jaina scholar Mahendra Suri translated, actually not translated but adapted and wrote a book on astrolabe, which was not known in India. That became a very important text, and as Professor Sharba surveyed, there are 100 or more than 100 manuscripts of that particular yantra, the king instrument. Not only that, but the translation of Varahamira, Brij Jatrika was also translated into Persian. So this tradition of translation naturally were transferred to the Mughal period also. And in the Mughal period, the first translation by a team of Hindu and Muslim scholar was of the Zij-ul-Ulugh Beg, the astronomical mathematical tables which were compiled in the Samarkand Observatory. The observatory was established in 1420, and in fact Jai Singh, some of the instruments in Jai Singh Observatory were adapted also from the observatory of Ulugh Beg. In any case, that was the translation from the Persian into Sanskrit. But then, of course, there were also translation, as you have just heard, of Lilavati and Bij Ganit, about which I will say a few words. Beside that, there were also translations of Mahabharata and Ramayana, and Faizi did not only translate Lilavati, but he also translated some other texts, some stories. For example, Nal, the story of Nal and Damayanti. So this translation was a part of intellectual culture in those days, with the collaboration of Sanskrit scholar and the Persian scholar. Now in the next presentation, I start with Lilavati. Faizi was a very famous person. He was attached to the court of Akbar, and later the famous person, the author of Ain Akbari, Abul Fazl, who also wrote Akbarnama, became also a court chronicler, which was brought by Faizi. So Akbar commissioned him to translate it. He was originally a teacher of Jahangir, later Jahangir, formerly Salim, Murad and Danial, all the three sons. And he learned Sanskrit in Banaras. In fact, there is a story, I don't know how far it is correct, but I presume that it must be correct, that he went to Banaras in disguise as a Brahman, and he wanted to learn Sanskrit, and he stayed there, and he learned Shastras and the Sanskrit language, and then he came back and then translated Lilavati. Now, just to say in a comment or in an observation that he was not only an expert to a certain extent, expert of Sanskrit, but he was really an expert of Arabic. He wrote an exegesis of Quran, and to the astonishment of many people, in Arabic alphabet there are 28 letters, and 13 letters are without dot. All others are with dot, either a dot up or a dot down. So he wrote that exegesis in Arabic with the help of only 13 letters. It's very difficult to write, unless you know the language very well, it is very difficult to write something with the help of only 13 letters rather than the full alphabet. So this is just to give you an idea that he knew his field very well, and he was also the king, royal shire, royal poet of Akbar's court. Now, before I'll not go into the details of mathematics of Leelavati, but I would like to survey some of the manuscript sources which are still available. Before I go to the various manuscripts which are available today, I like to say that just like Sanskrit libraries and collection of manuscripts in Baroda or Adyar and other places, we have in India a number of libraries where we have Arabic and Persian manuscript sources. For example, here in Kolkata, we have the Asiatic Society Library. This is a madrasa in Devband. In London, India Office Library and British Museum Library, I am including it because those manuscripts were taken from India and preserved there. So those manuscripts are also available in India. In Lucknow, there is the Tagore Library, but beside the Tagore Library, there are madrasas, 3 or 4 madrasas which have collections. And then Patna Khudabakhsh Library, Srinagar Library of the Central Asian Institute, and Tonk Library. Rampur Library, Nawab of Rampur, Raza Library in Rampur. Aligarh Muslim University has a library which has 20,000 manuscripts in Arabic and Persian, also Sanskrit manuscripts. And the new university, Hamdard University founded by Hamdard Foundation, this has also in New Delhi, they have also. So I have written here that one each, this is a mathematical science, one manuscript each in Kolkata, Devband, London, Lucknow, Patna, Srinagar, and 2 each in Lucknow, Patiala, Hyderabad, and 3 in Aligarh and Rampur. And in all, there are 36 manuscripts, 24 in India and 12 in Pakistan. It's not much. It's not a large number, but don't forget that the Persian text was in 19th century. Yes, in 19th century was lithographed, and therefore it was available also. Important is the manuscriptology on which no work has been done. Who were the scribes? Were they Hindus? Were they Muslims? Were they working for a Muslim Nawab or ruler? In which city? Whether the city had some intellectual atmosphere and the year, and whether they have comments and notes. Sometimes in the manuscript you have marginal notes and sometimes interlinear linear notes also. So I have been able to survey these, found out that 36 manuscripts are still available for Leelavati. Of course, you know all this, that the Sanskrit original was published in 1932, Persian text lithograph in 1827 in Calcutta. and Faizi Persian text translated not only in English, as Professor Sharma has said, but also in Urdu. Late translation by Muhammad Ghafil in 19th century, as you see here, and the manuscript is in Aligarh. And the scribe, and another translation, another Urdu translation by Debi Chand in 1855. Now, the interesting point is that even 1857 we have the first revolution or freedom movement, struggle for freedom. So, in the late Mughal period, 19th century, also there was a will to understand Leelavati, and it was being translated now not only in Persian but also in Urdu. So this intellectual reception of the ancient Indian sciences was still there, and probably they were being patronized by the local ruler. There were also other Persian translations. Qazi Hassan, this by Qazi Hassan, it is undated manuscript in Bhopal in Hamidiya Library, and there is a person whose name is Anand Kahin Gwaliari from Gwalior. His manuscripts are one in Karachi and two in Lahore. They are translation of Leelavati in Persian, not by Faizi, but by these people, Qazi Hassan and Kahin or Anand. And another one, Medni Mal in 1664 for Aurangzeb. So during the Aurangzeb's time also, this Leelavati was being translated. And interestingly, there are 10 manuscripts of this Medni Mal translation, 4 in Pakistan, and why there was a need of fresh translation into Urdu, who were the scholar who patronized it, and in Bahadur Shah's reign when it was a lot of difficulties in those days, politically as well as financially also. So this manuscriptology is important, and just today, after listening to the talk of Ramasubramaniam and my friend Sharma Sahab, I would like to see, or maybe if I find time or somebody could see these translation, where one has to look for this story of Leelavati and the marriage and widowedness and so on, whether they also translated in the same way, although the translation of Faizi was there in front of them, but maybe they did something else. And whether it was a pure mathematical translation of the mathematical formulas and mathematical methodology, but also some literary aspect, I don't know that, but probably these translations one can study also from this point of view. Let me go to the next. भाई ये तो चल नहीं रहा. Bija-Ganit. Bij-Ganit was translated in 1634-35 by Ataullah Rushdi. He was, as I have written, he dedicated it to Shah Jahan. And his father, Ahmad Mamar, was the architect in Persian Mohandis of Taj Mahal. So this is a family of Ahmad Mamar, who were astronomer. They were also mathematician. The younger brother of Ataullah, Lutfullah, is very famous so far as the mathematical books are concerned. And Ataullah wrote 2 books, Khulasatul Raz, which is in verse, dedicated, he was a poet, dedicated to Darashikoh, and a Persian translation of Bij-Ganit, which was translated into English by Stretchy, that of course you know. Now, the extant manuscripts are not many, but even then, one manuscript each in BHU, Banaras Hindu University, Madrasa, Hyderabad, Saidiya Library and Usmania University Library. Lucknow, again in Madrasa, there are two, Nadwatul Ulama and Madrasatul Baizeen. One is the Shia Madrasa, the other is the Sunni Madrasa. Now this is interesting that these translations are available today and probably in those days also in the madrasa's library and collections also, but they never taught in their, they were not included in their syllabus so far as the instructions of mathematics is concerned. They used to teach only Khulasatul Hisab by Bahauddin Amli of 17th century Iranian, and the astronomy also, made easy astronomy, which he wrote. Now as you see, that 4 manuscripts are in London, that means British Museum and India Office Library. In all we have 11 manuscripts, and 4 manuscripts we have abroad. I am not listing them, but one is in Cambridge, other is in Munich, and there is a Royal Asiatic Society library collection also in London, which has also a manuscript, and similarly one more somewhere. So you see that there is a scattered manuscripts, but unfortunately no comparative study has been done so far as Bij Ganit and Leelavati is concerned. 3 minute बाकी है, oh God. अब तो यहाँ के बाद चाय तो होगी नहीं, खाना ही तो होगा, और खाने में देर होगी, तो क्यों आप फिक्र करते हैं? मैन्युस्क्रिप्टोलॉजी पे एक ही तो आप दे रहे हैं पर्शियन के ऊपर. कोशिश कीजिए. नहीं 2 मिनट कहाँ से देंगे आप? इस कदर कंजूसी क्यों कर रहे हैं? Now I will not go because of his miserliness, that the Sanskrit translation text where it was and so on. Now I'll go. I'll just try to mention that there is Ijazul Hisab, two translations of Bij Ganit, more than what I have shown by Ataullah. Ijazul Hisab by an Indian, Muhammad Amin. It is in Raza Library, and Badrul Hisab. As you see that. And this is very interesting that it was scribed by Raghunath in Dhaka, and I've given here the reference. Especially one should see that the translators or the scribes for Hindu and Muslim, there was no prejudice against so far as the intellectual is concerned. There is a reference that Siddhanta Shiromani was also translated in 1797 by Safdar Ali Khan, dedicated to Arastuja, who was a Prime Minister of Nizam of Hyderabad. And this Zij is very interesting. There is a copy in the Central State Library, and this is a translation of Graha Chandrika Gadita by Appaya. So you see that Siddhanta Shiromani, we have not been able to find any manuscript up till now. Now Karana Kutuhala is known very well so far as Sanskrit is concerned. This is a handbook on calculations of astronomical coordinates of planetary motions. Anyway, on this there is a full session here. What is interesting is that the Persian translation was not known to Pingree and Story also, and there is one copy of this in Lahore in Punjab University Library. It is anonymous, inscribed by Gul Muhammad, discovered discovered by somebody else, and it is anonymous at the moment. And then I discovered another copy in Rampur. This is undated, The folio numbers are given, and the beginning of the Lahore manuscript is given on folio 11, 118. So I could identify that Gul Muhammad's manuscript is also of Karana Kutuhala. There is a Persian commentary again in PUL, Punjab University Library, Sharha Franco Halla, or this is probably wrongly written by a scribe. It is Karana Kutuhala. It is anonymous. This is in 1751, and the cataloger identified it as a translation of Sanskrit text of Karana Kutuhala with a commentary. Now, let me go to the conclusion. Let me say that the Sanskrit texts were translated into Persian, initiated by Akbar, Lilavati, and so on. And there was a team of Muslim Hindu scholars, and the Jassing School of Astronomy, Jassing School of Translations of Arabic Astronomy is also known. We know that Euclid's Element and Al-Majlis was translated into Sanskrit by Samrat. What was the name? Nath? Jagannath, sorry. And then Shah time, the Zijje Shahjahani was also translated by Nityananda into 1630, and he was especially commissioned. He was a court astronomer, and he translated it, and the title is Siddhanta Sindhu. And then later he wrote another one, Sarva Siddhanta Raja, which is 1639, with lots of elements of Islamic astronomy. Now, what was the impact? लीजिए साहब, ये तो बिल्कुल ही बंद हो गया.
समय खत्म हो गया.
नहीं भाई, कैसे खत्म हो गया? आप क्या बातें कर रहे हैं? What was the impact of these translations? Whether people imbibed some of the Islamic astronomy or the mathematics, for example, which was in Euclid's time, or the Almagest, which was translated. What was this? Now, I am very happy to learn that there are 5 students of Pingree, and they are working on it, and Clemency is working on Zijje Muhammad Shahi and the translation, and I hope that people will work on this area in which there is a synthesis of the astronomy from the West Central Asia and the ancient Indian astronomy. And I hope we will be able to find more some Sanskrit manuscripts which may contain some of the very important elements of the various cultural areas. Thank you very much.
So any questions or comments, please?
क्या क्वेश्चंस होंगे इस पे? आप लोग अब तो जल्दी कर रहे हैं, तो आदमी सोचेगा भाई जल्दी करो.
वो दूसरा स्लाइड जाइए. मुझे एक प्रश्न है.
जी बोलिए. आप अंग्रेजी में बोलिए, जर्मन में भी बोल सकते हैं.
हाँ, ये क्या है? संस्कृत ओरिजिनल कलकत्ता, इसका मतलब क्या है?
Sanskrit original text was published from Calcutta. 1932. Am I wrong?
No, I'm asking you. Is it for the first time? Why are you mentioning this?
No. I just mentioned it. I don't know whether. I think it is correct that the original Sanskrit text was published in 1932. Was this text also published before 1932? You will be able to tell me. I don't know that. I'm just giving the
Because the later things, I mean, you mentioned 1827, 1854 and so on.
No, that is the Persian
That is
text.
Persian version.
That is Persian work, lithographed, Calcutta 1827, 54.
Yeah.
And then the text translated into Urdu and so on. But this was just the original Sanskrit text. Now, if you know that this is 1932 is wrong, before that also some of the text was translated. I don't know.
No, that's
I
why I
don't
was
know.
asking. So was it first edition which you are mentioning or?
No, that I cannot say.
No.
I don't know. I don't know the details.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Clemens?
Do the translations of the Lilavati and Vijayanatha mention Bhaskara by name? Do you think that they indicate that these works would have made it into the Muslim scholarly community as part of the Bhaskaras, a known name tradition, or were they receiving partial works that had become just standard mathematics, sort of generic mathematics textbook?
They were, Bhaskara's name was very well written there. And Bhaskaracharya, sometimes Bhaskara, and also that this was originally in Sanskrit. And sometimes the year is also given, the century, at least 12th century, this is given. So everybody knows that this is Sanskrit text and not original Persian text. This was very clear. But what I don't understand is that why, when it was known in India and so many manuscripts were there, and during the medieval period more manuscripts must be there, and they were also in madrasas where astronomy and mathematics were taught, why they were not taken into, were not imbibed in the syllabi. They didn't want to change it at that point of time. They didn't want to change at that point of time.
Yeah, please.
I have two questions. The first is, did they translate the verses of Bhaskara into verse or into prose?
Prose.
Into prose.
Yes.
Okay. And secondly, did they translate the commentaries along with them, or did they write their own, or was it just the base text?
No, they
any
didn't.
commentary?
They didn't translate the commentary. They had the text. For example, so far as Bij Ganit is concerned, there are reports that it is not exact and it is an adaptation, translation with commentary of Ataullah himself. So he wanted to explain that text. So it is not a literal translation, but most probably Lilavati is a literal translation. But one has to look up the various manuscripts, maybe.
Yeah, Professor Srinivas.
Apart from translations, is there any known mathematical or astronomical work of Azi or Ataullah?
No. Ataullah wrote only two books. One is the Khulasatul Raz, which is an abridgment of Al-Amli Khulasatul Hisab, the essence of mathematics or arithmetic. And then this book also. There is one book also on astrology, but I'm not very sure whether he is the same Ataullah or some other. But in 19th century, various zijis were written, astronomical mathematical tables, and I have been able to find out at least 7 of them, which are based on Bhaswati and Appaya and Devayagan, about whom Ganesha Devayagan, and on which our Balachandra Rao has done a lot of work. So these texts of 7 zijis have to be studied and compared, and this is also very interesting to note that why in the late 20th century in Hyderabad, in Nizam of Hyderabad state, these texts were being studied and written also. That's why Siddhanta Shromani, he says himself, I have translated it in 1797. Thank you very much.
May I have one?
Just one follow-up on that. You mentioned that the translations appear in madrasas but were not used in the madrasa curriculum. But what I'm wondering is there any evidence of individual study? That is, have you ever found a manuscript with an ijaza of a Muslim scholar on one of these translations? You know, a certificate that a Muslim scholar has completed the study of this translation of a Sanskrit work with a professor.
You cannot have the ijaza or ijazat or permission or certificate unless the text is a part of syllabi, instructions. If it is a part of syllabi and instructions, only then it will be written that this and this has been done. So it was completely out.
Okay. Do any of these other translations contain the legend of Lilavati?
This is exactly what I learned today, and I will like to see. Sorry. I have learned today that that one has to look up in other translation whether this Lilavati anecdote is there. But because there was this Lilavati before them, therefore it is possible that they included it, or maybe they didn't include it. One has to look up the text.